Okay, today we'll start with Maven folder structure. So Maven comes with some default folder structure. So that means it is uniform throughout all the Maven products, irrespective of the person who is creating the Maven project and irrespective of the organization who is using Maven for their projects. The folder structure is the same everywhere. So that the person who is working on a Maven project in some organization or and in some project will not feel different or will not feel new to any other project which is implemented using Maven. That means both look familiar. The folder structures are since folder structures are the same. So to provide uniformity or to bring the uniformity throughout all the projects, okay. So Maven has come up with this default folder structure. So as I told you, uh, so coming to code, there are two things. One is the actual code, or that is actual code written by the developer, okay, which implements the functionality. Then there is a JUnit code, that is test code, which act on this main code or which run against this main code. Okay, so code can be divided into the actual code and unit test code. Okay, similarly, there are resources. What are resources? So you might be needing multiple configuration files for running your code. That means they can be properties files or they can be any uh, uh, XML files, which basically our code needs for its execution. Okay, so you think them as a property files. Okay, similarly for a main code or the development code, source main resources is the folder location of the resources. Similarly for test code, that means the unit test code, it will have its own resources folder, the source test resources here. For main code, that is source main resources. For JUnit unit testing code, that is source test resources. So your main code resides in source main Java. Your unit test code resides in source test Java. Then there is a target directory. So what is target directory? When you build your project, okay. So what you are doing um, as part of build process, or if you build your project, that means you are compiling your project. You are doing multiple other phases, executing other build phases. Okay, once everything is done, you package your project to .jara .var. Okay, so and all the binary code or compiled code, everything. So the compiled code and the .jara .var that your uh, of your project, so that complete thing goes into your target directory. That means output of the build process. What is the output of the build process? That is your compiled code or binary code and your .jara .var files. Then there is form.xml. So this is it should reside in project's root folder. If you go back to the project Maven project that we have created yesterday, see. So there is source main Java which has this your main code. Okay, then there is sources Java which have unit test. See, test suite. So these are all unit tests. Okay, so they have just given. So when you create a Maven project, so it by default it gives this app.java and app.test.java. App.java is your development code. App.test.java is unit test code. So what we can do, we can simply delete that since we don't need them. We write our own code. So login test.java is our own code. So whatever I want to write, I write it here. Okay. So this app.java present in source main Java and app.test.java present in sources Java. You can simply delete them. You don't need them. Okay. For now, I'll put them there. Later, I'll delete them. Okay. If I go to navigator view, it will be more. Okay. So this is my own learning. these dot settings, ignore that. Those are temporary files related to my local environment or local Eclipse. Okay, see, this is source main Java. Similarly, source test Java. Under source only there is test Java. So in source main Java there is the actual com.sidhu. This is package name and this is the actual class. Similarly, under source test Java there is com.sidhu, that is package name, then app_test.java. So this is actual development code, and this is unit test code. And then there is target. Target has all the classes. Okay, test classes. Okay, I will show them step by step. Okay, and there is form.xml. It should reside directly under the uh, project. Okay, or directly inside the project root folder. Okay, so this is about the folder structure. Okay, so next important thing is Maven build life cycle. So this is so as we know, most of us use Maven as a build tool. Okay, so which automates the complete build process. So we should understand what a build process is, or what a build life cycle is, and what are the different phases in that build life cycle. So basically, what is a build life cycle? Maven build life cycle. It is a definition on how a build process should be executed. So it is a predefined way on how a build or how a build process should get executed. Okay, so build cycle consists of multiple phases which execute in particular sequence. So what are the phases? These are the phases: validate, compile, test, package, verify, install, and deploy. Okay, so each one is a phase. Okay, so there are many other intermediate phases between each phase. I have not put them here because we don't. It's not mandatory, or it's not. It's okay even if we ignore them, because they are all intermediate. These are the major phases. We should better be knowing what each phase does. Okay, and as we say, this complete this build, as we say, this has a build life cycle. Okay, so it follows a particular sequence. That means validate phase is executed first, then compile phase, then test compile, then test, then package, then verify, then install, then deploy. Okay, so it this build process respects this order, or it follows this order. Okay, so build phases get executed in above order. When we run any particular phase, then all the phases which come early in the order are first executed, and then the selected phase get executed. That means, suppose if I want to run only this test phase, so when I want to run this test phase, the other phases which are ahead in the build life cycle, ahead of this test phase in the build life cycle, they get executed first, and then the test. Because that means if I want to run test, all the four until test gets executed. If I want to run verify phase, starting from validate to verify, all the phases gets executed. If I want to run install phase, these all get executed in this order. If I want to run deploy phase, all will get executed. If I want to run only compile phase, only first two will get executed. Okay, see, if you want to run any particular phase, then all the phases which are ahead of that phase in build life cycle, they get executed first, and then the selected phase. I'll show example. Okay, okay, I'll go to workspace where my project is located. Okay, see workspace, this is my Eclipse workspace, this is Maven learning. Okay, Maven underscore learning. So this is basically present here. So what I'll do, first I'll clean it, because there are already few things. Okay, Maven is the command. Okay, clean. what clean does is it cleans the target folder. Okay, what happened? Okay, maybe I'm in the wrong folder. Where I am? Okay, sorry. I need to go to this folder. How to do that? See, if I am, you can open command line and navigate to this location, or there is another simple way to do that. Go to the folder, project root folder, that is Maven Learning. Here, uh, press shift button in your keyboard and right click. You will get this option. Open command window here. Okay, so you'll command line, this command prompt gets opened at this location. Okay, so I am here. See, Maven Learning, see workspace Maven Learning. Okay, then I will run clean. So this clean cleans the target folder, or it deletes the target folder. See now. So we know that the target folder contains output of build process. Okay, so since I want to build it again freshly, first I would like to clean that. So when I do this Maven clean, it simply deletes the target folder. Okay, there is nothing more than that. It simply cleans the all the output. Okay, see now there is no target folder. Okay, and remember, clean is not part of this build life cycle. Okay, so it's just another goal. Okay, goal to clean the target folder. Okay, clean is not among these phases. Okay, whenever you want to run build freshly, you would like to delete the previous build output, so you just run maven clean. It completely deletes the target folder, so that your build process is started freshly. Okay, 1 second. Okay, now next thing I start with uh, Maven validate. It simply validates whether everything is fine with your project. It checks whether all the things
Hello.
are. Hello, Sridhar.
Sorry for the delay, Siddesh.
పర్లేదు పర్లేదు. స్క్రీన్
Can
షేర్
you?
చేయనా స్కైప్ లో?
చేయండి. ఓకే.
ఓకే,
ఓకే. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
I just started with build life cycle, Sridhar.
ఓకే.
So a build life cycle is which defines all the phases present in a build process. Okay, so build process can be divided into these phases, and they all execute in this order: first validate phase, then compile phase, then test compile phase, lastly deploy phase. Okay, they get executed in this order. So if you want to run any particular phase, if you want to run only packaging phase, then the all the phases until package will get executed. Okay, if you want to run only install phase, all the phases until install phase gets executed. If you want to run only compile phase, all the phases until compile will get executed. Okay, so so basically, since this build process is a build life cycle, it has to follow the uh, sequence. Okay, so
Siddesh sir, is it part of framework or is it different life cycle things in the
uh,
Selenium?
so this is, let's explain. Actually, when you write your code, okay,
Okay.
after writing your code, the next important thing is to compile it and deploy it,
Sure.
right? So make it usable. So far we have been running them from Eclipse, but ideally in real time we don't run any framework or any automation test suite from Eclipse. We create a jar from whatever we have written. We create jar from what we compile our project, we create a jar out of it, then use that jar to run. Okay, we deploy that jar somewhere else, then run it, right?
Okay.
Okay, so you will understand. Okay, so basically, okay, you have used your testng framework. Okay, then using Java you have written your test cases. Using Java and Selenium you have written your test cases, and the testing framework that you have used is testng. Okay, it has provision everything. Now your code is ready. Now you want to run that. Okay, to run it, first you need to compile it, create a jar out of it, then deploy that jar somewhere, then run it, right? So this is the next important thing. After the code is ready, you need to make it executable.
Yeah.
To achieve that, we need Maven. It provisions all the build process. Okay, so it builds your project, generates jar out of it, deploy the jar somewhere wherever you want, run it. When you run the jar, all the tests that present in your project gets executed. Don't worry, I'm coming in that sequence.
Okay.
By the end of this, you will be able to understand how we can achieve using Maven. Hello.
Hello, Siddesh, it's disconnected.
Okay. Share screens. See that I have shared screen in Skype too,
Okay.
and I have shared the join me link too. Others can use join me link.
Okay.
Please mute your mic.
No, no, it's not from.
Okay.
It's not my side actually.
Okay. Okay. So these are all build phases. Okay. So coming back to my project. Okay. See that, just think that the source
Okay.
has all our code. We have written, suppose, 100 test cases using Selenium and Java, and that code is entirely present in this login test as Java, this package. Okay, these two are simple tests for demo purpose. Okay, just imagine that all the Selenium test cases that are written are present in this folder.
Okay.
Okay, under source main Java, this folder.
Okay.
Okay, and will in later sessions I'll show, I'll actually add test and try executing. I'll add test, then build using Maven, create a jar. When we run that jar, all the tests will get run. Okay, that is actual scenario, end-to-end scenario. Okay, for now, since we have not yet written any test cases, just think these are only the test, our tests, that means our Selenium tests. Okay, and don't get confused with this test folder. These are unit tests. Okay, in typical development environment, just forget about our automation framework. In typical development environment, developer code consists two things. So I am stressing this, I am repeating this again and again, because that is very important for you to understand, so that you don't get executed confused. Okay, okay, so
Yeah.
whatever the developer code consists of two things, that is the actual dev code, which is the functionality, Okay, then he will also write unit tests, uh, which run against dev code. Okay, so everyone, so since most of you are experienced people, you know what are unit tests. Unit tests are the tests are unit tests written in Java or in the develop written by the developers. Okay, so what they do, they call the methods that they have written in their dev code. Okay, and verify they are functioning as expected. Okay, so basically before, just after compiling the code, before even generating the jar, there are unit tests are run on the compiled dev code. If unit tests are passed, that means uh, the major things are working fine and there is no major breakage. Then jar can be generated, which can be deployed. When that is run, so on the deployed jar or deployed application, testers start their testing. Okay, so that means before the project even given for testing to testers, unit tests are run on the dev code. Okay, so for those unit tests, this package structure is given, or this folder structure is given. Source main, under main you'll have the main code, under test you'll have the test code, that means unit test code. And in our case, since we are not developers, we are just writing automation tests. Okay, for us automation tests are the main code. Okay, and we don't want to write any unit tests on this code. Okay, so we are not developers, right? Ours are just automation test cases. We don't want to write any unit tests on our automation tests again. So that means uh, I'll keep only this thing. I'll delete everything present inside this source test java.com, this thing. Okay, so I'll just keep this test folder empty because we don't have any unit tests. Okay, for now, since we are not into our automation framework, just explain the concepts of Maven. I'm keeping both the things. Okay, would like to show what happens with each folder. Okay, so as I told, these are all the phases in build life cycle. They get executed in this sequence. Okay, first let me okay, we'll ignore this deploy. So we are not going to deploy it anywhere because we don't have any deployment environment here. I'll just remove this for now. Okay, so until install we'll see. I'll directly run install phase. Let's see what happens. Okay, so I am in the project root folder. Here I am running maven install. So this is the command that you get to execute very frequently. Maven install, mvn install. Okay, it said build success. So what you have done, we have actually executed a build. Okay, so we have actually executed a build process. Okay, so in the build process, install is one phase. I executed that phase. As I said, if I install any run any phase, the all the phases which present in the build life cycle, which are ahead of this phase, also get executed. So if I run only test phase, the first all the phases until test will get executed. If I run only package phase, all the phases until package will get executed. Okay, if I run only compile, all the phases until compile will get executed. Just remember that. Okay, since I have run this install phase directly. That means all the phases starting from validate to install got executed. Let's see. Okay, see here Okay, so here it started from here. I just copy this complete thing, uh, paste it here to explain to you. Uh, okay, and this validate phase is also not that important. I'll remove that this also. Okay, and this verify phase is also not very important for us. I'll remove this also. These are major phases in build life cycle. We'll see these things in detail. Okay, first compile. See, if we go to this complete output, so I started with Maven install. It said scanning for projects. Here, the first phase is compile. Here, see, it says default compile. Okay, and two source files to C workspace Maven learning target classes. I'll show these folders also. Okay, inside target. So this is basically compile. Okay, this is compile phase. After compile, the next phase is test compile phase. Okay, so test compile here it very it actually uh, look looking for test resources. That means all the properties files and all configuration files which are which are used by unit tests. Okay, first it is looking for them, then compiling the test code. That means unit test code. Okay, then next step is just test. Okay, now it's time to run the tests. Here it compiled the tests, and that means unit test. After compiling, next it ran the tests. Okay, so the test results are written here. C workspace Maven learning target surefire reports. Okay, the test results are printed here. Okay, then next phase is packaging. That is package. Okay, once packaging is done, the last phase is installing phase. Okay, so the first phase is compile phase, where the dev code is compiled. That means code present in the source main Java. This code is compiled. Okay, and compiled classes are written to C in target classes folder. So I'll open that folder too. See in target. Okay, under classes folder. Here actual see app.class. Okay, see we have two Java files here, right? .java. Once they get compiled, they become .class files. Okay, that means the source code or the main code is compiled in compile phase, and that is written to this output folder. Okay, in target, that is written into classes folder. The next phase is test compile. In this phase, unit tests are compiled here. Okay, and they are written to target test classes. Okay, so target test classes, in this test compiled test class are there here. Okay, next, so your dev code is compiled and unit tests are compiled. Now it's time to run the unit tests. Okay, in this phase tests are run. How many tests are there? There is only one test, right? What is the test? App test.java. The test is run, and output is written here itself. So unit tests are directly run on compiled code. Okay, now compile is done, test compile is done, test is done. Next thing is package. That means packaging or creating jar file. Packaging is nothing but creating jar file. Okay, see in this folder, in the target folder itself, jar file got created. Okay, that is written here. This is packaging here. So building jar, it is set. See, building jar. What is the name of the jar? Maven learning 0 snap jar, where it is written in target folder. Okay, and what is the install phase? Install phase is uh, copying this jar file to local Maven repository. I'll explain what is local Maven repository. Basically, it is putting this jar file or constructed jar file in Maven repository. See, if you see here, installing C workspace Maven learning target. This is the jar file. Okay, to C users Sidhu.m2. This is Maven repository. .m2 is called Maven repository. Here it is placing the jar. Okay, so this is Maven's local central repository. I'll show that folder too. Similarly, it's installing the pom.xml of this project. Okay, along with this jar file, it also copying this pom.xml to the same location, so to the same repository. Okay, .m2 repository. Okay, this is in brief the complete build process. These are all the major phases in the build process. Okay, I directly ran the last phase in this cycle, that is install phase. It since according to this build life cycle, when you run any phase in build life cycle, it first runs all the previous phases present in that cycle and then that phase. Okay, now I'll run only compile phase. Let's see what happens. Before that, I'll run this Maven clean. Okay, clean is not any phase. Okay, it's not part of build life cycle. It just cleans the target folder, or it just deletes the target folder. We know what is target folder. Target folder is the contains all the output of the build process. That means all the compiled code plus jar file that got created. Okay, so it has all the complete output of your build process. Okay, now when I do maven clean, mvn clean, it simply deletes that target folder itself. Okay, why do you need to delete? Suppose if you want to build our project again, what we first need to do, we need to delete the previous build output. So we know that build output is present in target folder. We first delete the target folder. Now run our build process again, and this build process will freshly create the target folder again. Okay, okay, now there is no target folder here. I will run first phase, that is compile phase. Okay. So as I told, if I run this phase, since this is first phase in this build life cycle, only it will get executed. See, now this is compile phase. If you observe this output, if you compare it with this compile phase, see, only this part got executed. Only this thing is printed here, and it said build success. So your build process is completed. Okay, since you want to run only until compile phase, I just gave mvn compile, so it ran only until compile phase in your build life cycle. See, it just compiled the source code, existing resource directory, then that is workspace maven learning source main resources, then uh, see change detected, recompiling the module, compiling two source files to C workspace maven learning target classes. Okay, now I'll go and see here. See, now target got created. It has only classes folder because this compile phase compiles the main code. Okay, it generates the compiled code, put that in classes folder present in target folder. See, in target folder classes folder is present. Okay, here it has the compiled code. Okay, now I'll go back to target folder. This time I will run the second phase. Okay, second phase is test compile. What should happen if I run test compile? These two will get executed. Okay, so all the phases until test compile will get executed. So what is first one? It compiles the code again, then it performs the test compile. See, there is no test classes folder here because last time we only run compile phase. Compile phase only generates this classes folder and not test classes folder because it doesn't compile test classes. For compiling test unit test code, there is another phase called test compile. I am running that. Okay, I need to be out of. What happened? Okay, I just run maven clean again. I'll run test compile. So since I am running this second phase, that is test compile, I am running this phase. That means I am running until test compile. This means if I do mvn test compile, that means run all the phases until test compile. The first phase is compile, next phase is this will run these two phases. See, this time I did test compile. It compiled source code, that is default compile. It also compiled test code, that is called default test compile. This time it created target test classes, target classes and target test classes because the first phase, that is compile phase, generated target classes and test compile phase then generated target slash test classes. I go here, see, in target I have classes and test classes too. Okay, what is the third one? Third phase is test phase. That means if I do mvn test, that means all the phases until test will get executed. See, this time it first ran the compile phase, that is first phase. First phase. How do we know that is run compile phase? See here, it has written default compile. Okay. Then it has executed test compile, that is second phase, and it executed the third phase, that is test phase that we have run. See, we have run MV and test, right? This is the third phase. So it has run that. So as part of this phase, it runs all the compiled unit tests. See, it says it has run the test. It is giving the results. Okay, how many are run, how many are passed, how many are failed, like this. Okay, and if I run the fourth one, see here, package is not this dot jar not got created. That is, packaging part is not done because we have run test phase. Packaging phase is not before this test phase. It is after this first phase. Okay, so when I ran this test phase, only first three got executed. Now, if I run this package phase, it will execute all three, plus it will create jar. This is the packaging phase. See, it has, see, after test phase, it has built the jar also. It has generated the jar. You know about the install phase. That is, after that, it simply copies this jar file to local Maven repository. That is in install phase. So this is about build life cycle. Okay, don't get confused. The most frequently used phase is Maven install. Okay, so this is like executing all phases of your build life cycle. So when you run Maven install, it compiles your developer dev code, it compiles your test code, it runs the unit tests, it creates the jar, then it copies the jar and installs it into your local Maven repository. So this is complete build life cycle. So when you run Maven install, what does that mean? That means you are running a phase called install. Okay, install in your build life cycle. Since install phase is very last in the build life cycle, or it's uh, uh, when you run install, all the other phases gets executed first, then this install phase gets executed. Okay, this is about build life cycle. If you just want to compile code, you just do this. Okay, hardly you never get this case, like you just want to compile your code. In our cases, we always want to compile, then create jar, then install it. Okay, so we always tend to use this Maven install. So basically, when you are running install, that means you are doing all you are executing all build phases. Of course, there is deploy phase is also there. Okay, generally we use the tools like Jenkins, okay, continuous integration type tools for doing this last thing. Okay, we don't take the help of Maven in this here. We take the help of tools. So once this install, this package creates a dot jar file. This install copies the dot jar file into local Maven repository. Then your Jenkins copies that dot jar file from your local repository and put it in a place where or it deploys it in a location where it is ready for being executed. Okay, this is about build life cycle. Okay, uh, so when you actually design our framework, so in our next classes, we write all our tests in this folder. Okay, um, after writing a test, we always do maven install. Okay, so when you do maven install, you this build get executed and your .jar file is created. You run that jar. Okay, from command line. We generally deploy jar files in Linux nodes, right? Because Linux are more secure, we always deploy our applications in Linux machines. If you deploy application in Linux machines, you should be able to run them through command line. If you want to run them through command line, that means it should be a jar or var. So that is what Maven is doing. It creates jar for you to run them from command line. Okay. Next topic is dependency management. Okay. Okay. What I'll do, I'll delete these two. Okay. And okay. And I don't want this also. Okay. Now let me run this. Let's see what happens. And run Maven. Okay. I'll run first. I'll clean it first because I want to delete the target folder before doing that. See, this Maven clean simply deleting C workspace, Maven learning and target folder. It is deleting this target folder. It is just doing this thing, not more than that. Then I will do install. See, this time previously when I ran, this was the test execution part. It printed this. It said test run, and all that stuff. Now, see in this Maven install that I executed now, there is no test section. Why? Because I just deleted the code present in test folder. So that means there are no tests to run. That's why no tests are printed here. See this test phase got executed. See, you can see default hyphen test. Okay, test phase got executed. Since there are no tests to run, nothing got printed here. Okay, so from now onwards, our folder structure will be like this. There will be test folder, but there will be nothing in test folder. All our tests will be written in our source main Java. Okay, here I'll create a new class. I'll name it some test one. We'll simply do public static void main. Okay, I would like to use this driver equal to new Firefox driver. Okay, now it will throw error because we have not yet imported this Selenium jar. See, so there is no Selenium jar here. If I go to Project Explorer, it will show this Maven dependencies folder also. In Maven dependencies, there is only JUnit jar. Why only this is there? If I open this form.xml, go to this XML view, under dependency section, only JUnit is there. So it downloaded jar and added to build path of our project. Okay, JUnit jar. Now I want to since my code that I want to write needs Selenium jar, I would like to add Selenium as dependency to this. That means this project is dependent on Selenium jar. Okay, for that what we'll do, we need to for JUnit, this is the group ID, this is the artifact ID, this is the version. Okay, for Selenium jar, we need to get this data. Okay, what is the group ID, artifact ID, and version for Selenium? For that, Selenium, I'll just type Selenium Maven dependency. See this, there is mvnrepository.com. I want a Selenium server. I want beta 3. Beta 3 is the latest version, 3.0.0.0. See, it is there. So this is actually Maven's website. Okay, it has this data. I simply copy that, paste it here, and at this dependency node. Okay, now I just saved it. Okay, it has not yet come in this Maven dependencies folder. Okay, still there is only JUnit. This Selenium server jar is not added. To do that, you just need to do this. Just do this Maven clean. Okay, okay. So every time I need to do a Maven clean and then install. So you can add both things in a single command, that is like this. Okay, Maven clean install. That means it first cleans. That means it first deletes the target folder and then installs. Okay, when it installs again, it again creates target folder and add all the build output into the target folder. I'll do this. So instead of running Maven clean and Maven install as two different commands, you can run them in a single command. This is the way to run Maven clean install. This order is important. Remember, if you run install first and clean that later, that means it first installs, then deletes the target folder. This order is important. It's taking time. See, it is downloading your complete Selenium jars, all the jars related to Selenium jar. Okay, it's downloading them first. How Maven knows to delete that or to download them? Or so I just added it as a dependency in pom.xml. Now when I run Maven clean install, when I do or when I run Maven install, this Maven checks whether all the dependencies are already there. If any new dependency is added, it will download the dependency from its central repository, that is it's over the internet. It's taking some time. Please be patient. Okay, that means see, Maven is like a central repository. Okay, over the internet. Suppose any organization, if it comes up with some jar for its product, or if suppose if take the example of Google itself. Google has multiple products, that is Gmail, all the Google apps and everything. Suppose every product has its own jar. What it does, it gives that jar to Maven, or it places, it uploads its jar to that Maven's repository. Okay, because Maven is central, so it has all the jars, central repository, and Maven is a nice tool. Okay, that means so all the jars are first uploaded to Maven central repository. Now Maven has access to all the jars. When we add this dependency in pom.xml, it simply downloads that jar from its central repository. That's it. Okay, after downloading from its own central repository to local repository. See, this is the local repository. If you see this location of this JUnit jar, where it is placed, see user sidhu.m2 repository. So we'll see that repository location too. We'll show you that. Okay. So first time it downloads. Next time when I run maven install, since it is already there in our local repository, because first time it already downloaded from central repository and kept it in local repository in our local machine. Next time it will not download. Okay, whenever if any dependency or any dependent jar is not present in this local repository, that is in this folder, then only it will download from internet. If it is already present in the local repository, it will not download from internet. Okay, first it downloaded, the next things are same. First downloaded, then it executed this default compile, that is compiling the dev code. Then it executed test compile, that is compiling the unit test code. Then it executed this test phase, where it tried to run the all the unit test. Then it executed this jar phase, that is packaging phase, where jar is created. Okay, lastly it installed. Okay, where it installed, see, it installed it in this location. C user sidhu m2 local repository. Okay, maven learning. Okay, sidhu repository configuration maven learning. Okay, I'll show this location also to you. Okay, so build is success. If now see here, previously there was only JUnit jar. Now all the Selenium jars are here. Maven automated this process. So you did not manually download anything. You just added it as a dependency in your pom.xml. Maven downloaded this jar and added to build path of your project. Now, if I go to this test one, now it will give me option to import. See, previously it was not there. Okay, just by adding this dependency to pom.xml. Okay, so you just added it. Maven took care of everything else. Suppose if I delete this dependency, or if I comment this dependency, what happens? See, now from Maven dependencies, it is deleted. That means all the jars are not there. All the Selenium jars are got removed, because it's no more dependent on so our project is not dependent on the Selenium. Okay, that's why it removed it from dependencies. Okay, now if I uncomment it and save it, it will again add them back. Okay, so this time it has not downloaded it again. It downloaded and placed it in this location. See, the default Maven repository is C users, your username, then this .m2. This is nothing but Maven repository. It has all the jars. For example, the Selenium jars. There are Selenium, Selenium HQ, all the Selenium related jars. Selenium, suppose a Firefox driver 3 beta 3. Okay, and similarly, um, JUnit jar are also there, right? So maybe what is the okay? So this is about it. So you just download it and put it in your local repository. That is this location. Okay. If it is not there in local repository, it downloads it from internet, places it in its local repository. If it is not there, if it is there, just uses that. So this is about dependency management. Very straightforward. You add the dependency. That's it. You'll get. Suppose if I want uh, Apache POA jar also, right? So how to do that? Okay, Apache POA. I don't want beta version. And suppose I want this version. Here, this is the dependency for it. Simply copy that, add it to as a dependency, save it. Okay. See, even after saving, you did not get that because it's not there in your local repository. That is under this .m2. It's not here. Okay. So what you need to do? You need to do this Maven clean install. So it first verifies the dependencies. How many dependencies are there? Three dependencies are there. That is Selenium, Apache POA, JUnit. Selenium and JUnit are already there, so it will not download them again. This Apache POA is not there in our local repository. Download from web. See, it's downloading Apache POA. So it only downloaded Apache POA and it did not download Selenium and JUnit because it previously downloaded them. They are already in our local M2 repository. Okay, so now you might have got the Apache POA also. JUnit. Mm, if we, oh, see this POA jar. Okay, see all jars are present in this here only this .m2 repository in under repository. In repository, uh, arg Apache POA POA 31.4. Few are see for this net. Few start with arg. Few start with net. Okay, arg Selenium for Apache POA. That is arg Apache POA arg Apache POI. This is the jar. Okay, so by this, it's clearly evident that Maven takes care of all the dependency management. If there is no Maven, earlier how we used to do, we used to manually download these jar files, then right click here, go to build path, okay, do this configure build path, then go to libraries, add external jars, add those externally the jars that you have downloaded, or browse them and select them here and do open. Okay, then they'll get added. Now there is no, we don't need to do that anymore now, because Selenium, the Maven is taking care of it. Okay, it is by default downloading them, adding them to build path. Okay, making them readily usable for us. Okay, we'll stop here.